All right, good morning, Project Bumble Cheapers. Trying to disconnect from the umbilical here. So today we have quite a bit going on. Maybe, we'll see. It's about 11:20. As I go along on today's projects, I'm going to try and do like updates. Again, I'm not showing. I don't have any means of setting this thing up and time lapsing anything at this point. So I'm just going to film at certain points, or record, not film, there's no film in a phone. Record at certain points, progress in what I'm doing. So as you can see, let me turn this around. We got Bumble Jeep up on the lift again. Nothing major this time. As I mentioned in my last video, for those of you who have been here, I had some issues coming back from Harrisburg when I was done, when I was visiting my daughter. And when I got back, these were very hotter than they should be. I wasn't burning my hands on them, but I could tell that the brakes had been locking up a little bit. And again, I think that's because I never put the brake line extensions on after I did my lift kit, and it was only because it didn't seem like it needed it. I mean, I turned it as far as it would go either way, and the brake lines didn't seem to be overly taut. A little bit, but not much. So today's project is going to be all of these new parts here behind me. Not all of them, maybe, but I got a power stop kit through Rock Auto for really reasonable. I think with the shipping and everything, it was like $189. So it's got new rotors, new calipers. Let's get the, well, I'm not good at this, am I? New calipers, which I've already painted yellow, and power stop, high temp. I told him I was going to be towing a trailer at some point, so these are, good stuff. And just to prove it's power stop, you can see the lube there. It's power stop. These are the braided stainless lines that I've had since before I installed the lift kit. And I had a plan of action today to do these. I was going to take everything apart, get the calipers off and leave them hang on the old brake lines, and then put everything back together, install the new calipers, and then with the lines, with the new stainless lines on them, and then all I'd have to do is break the connection where the old brake hose goes into the solid line and put in the other line. Well, the best laid plans of mice and men, that's not going to work, because in all of this stuff, in the new calipers and the new brake lines, I got the bronze washers. See, I got the bronze washers, the retaining clips for the brake lines. This is the hardware kit that came with the calipers, so they gave me new bolts and banjo bolt washers, but no new banjo bolt. And for those of you that don't know, this is where your banjo bolt goes. I don't know why they call it a banjo bolt, but it passes through this part of the brake line, and it has a hole coming this way that allows the brake fluid to go through the line, through the fitting, and into the caliper to apply your brakes. So no new banjo bolt. Some of the other stuff you might see sitting here, you see a new style intake I got. I probably won't get to that today. That's a rather extensive job, and I've got 3 rolls of tint. 5% is what I put on the rear side glass, and it's also going on the rear doors. And then the 35 is going to go on the front doors, but I'm not sure. I'm putting tint on the rear glass as well. I should have done that when I put the new glass in after the other one got broke earlier this summer, because as with glass, anytime you take it out, you remove it and reinstall it, you stand a chance of breaking it if you're not extremely careful. Well, sometimes even when you're extremely careful, doo-doo occurs. So anyhow, I decided I'm going to put the tint on the inside. I just don't know if I'm going to use the 5% or the 35%. And the reason I'm indecisive on that is because I had to back up a vehicle and the guy had 5% all the way around except for a strip in the windshield, and I had to back it up at night, and I ended up backing his Yukon Denali into another car that was there for repairs and did some minor damage on the corner of his bumper. Fortunately, I was paranoid about backing up when I couldn't see where I was going, so I went very, very slow, but still ended up doing some damage. So I do have the auxiliary backup lights on this, and they're ridiculous. So I'm thinking even if I do go the 5%, it may not be that big a deal because I got more than adequate lighting when I back up. And to be honest, I don't do a lot of backing up. So anyhow, I'm going to pause here, get the wheels off, start the tear down on the calipers and get the rotors and stuff, and then I'll come back. And then, like I said, when I started this video 6 minutes ago, it was 11:20, so we'll see how long it takes me. I'll give you a time when I come back. So be back for you. It'll be almost instantly. Okay, been a few minutes. I got the there. I have the tires off. I got a new rotor sitting over here now. One thing interesting that I found out about the Jeep, and I'm going to turn the camera around here. This is where the caliper sits on most vehicles that I've ever worked on. This and the knuckle are bolted together. On this one, this is all one piece. And yes, I know it's rusty and I need a new backing plate. That's pretty bad, but when I do the wheel bearings, when it needs them, it doesn't need them yet, but when it comes time to do the wheel bearings, I'm going to either have to get new backing plates at a junkyard. The only ones I was able to find on Rock Auto were for the rear, and they're like $100 a piece. It's like, what are these guys smoking? But anyhow, so I got the other side to get the caliper off yet. That all came apart. Whoever put this together the last time used anti-seize. Great idea. If I had it, I would use it. But I'm going to turn this around. So it looks nasty, but those pads are actually in good shape, and the rotor was too. So I'm thinking it had to be the brake lines, as I explained in my last video. What happens when the inner lining of the brake hose separates from the outside, it has a tendency to collapse. It allows the pressure to go one way, but it's very slow in letting the pressure release. So your brakes hang up a little bit, and the worse it gets, the worse it gets. I've had brakes get to the point where when I got to wherever I was going, you could see the rotors were actually glowing cherry red from the brake hanging so hard. Not good for a vehicle with a manual transmission. So anyhow, I'm going to pause you guys again and finish putting the right side together, or the left side together, and onward and upward. Back to work. All right, I'm back. It's probably about 12:30. Last time I looked, I've done some stuff here. I'm getting ready to start the passenger side, so I'm just going to put it here in the background. I don't know how much you can tell from the camera phone, but anyhow, it's as I said with the last one, it doesn't really need replaced. The issue, I believe, and now that's turned all the way, and you can see that's pretty taut. So I think that's where the problem is coming in, right here. So anyhow, some things I've learned from doing this. Like I said earlier, the Cherokee, the bracket and the spindle for mounting the caliper are all one piece. So once you get the caliper off, you can take the rotor right off. Some pro tips. Here we have the new stainless brake hose, and it's got like a nice clear coating on it. I don't know, it's probably like a heat shrink tube or whatever, but you notice I have this assembled on the mounting bracket. Um, yeah, that's a good idea because when you take this apart, I had it, I undid the bracket, I undid this, I hooked in my new hose. This bracket here is part of the brake hose assembly, and I'm reusing the mounting screw. There's nothing wrong with it, it just looks old. So got the new caliper mounted up, had the old one hanging there, and I realized that because they didn't send me a new banjo bolt, which is, let's see if I can get that in there. This, come on, this thing right here, that's your banjo bolt. And I guess this kind of does look like a banjo. On the new one, not so much. But so by pre-assembling this end, you can just thread your hose right, or your brake line right in there, and then all you need to do is put your banjo bolt on the back of this, and that goes kind of like that. At least that's the way I did the other one. You could probably do that, but I don't like that. So another pro tip here on the caliper, you see these things. This is where your guide pins go that help you, your brake release when you let off the pedal. When you're putting this thing together, okay, pro tip with Ziplocs. Open them, you don't have to rip them. Just go like that, and they open right up. See that? There you go. Learn something new every day. So this goes in here. Baby. Oh, well, I'm gonna pause you and put you down. Okay, so it's all together now. When you're putting this on the new rotor, or on the rotor, these have to retract out of the way, or it won't go together. And you got to put the top in first, which is, this is the top. So there you go. And one more pro tip. What was it? I knew I had something. Oh yeah. Fantastic or 409, whatever. Keep a bottle of this in your garage. It makes a great hand cleaner. You just spray a little in your hand, wipe it off, and then take a clean rag, or a dirty rag, and get your hands really clean really quick. No water necessary. So there you go. She's up in the air. I'm about to start this side. The other side took a little bit longer because I had some things to figure out. Now that I have these all figured out, this should come apart and go back together fairly easily. That side already, you notice the wheel is already back on. I did gravity bleed it. It works great. I mean, you make a little mess on the floor with the brake fluid, but at the end of the day, you don't need somebody in there pumping and cracking and, hold and pump and hold and pump and hold and all that nonsense. You just put everything together, leave the bleeder open, and when you get a nice steady stream out of it, after the bubbles are all gone, close the bleeder, top off your master cylinder, and you're done. I've done that with this Jeep since I replaced the rear wheel cylinders on this about 2 years ago. It works great, I'm telling you. Nice hard pedal, perfect. So, or you can go to Advance or O'Reilly's or AutoZone, whatever your favorite parts place is, or Amazon, and get yourself one of those little aluminum vacuum pumps, and the little cup for holding it, and do that. But I bought one of those years ago. I used it once or twice. It cost me $40 when I bought it. I got it through AutoZone, and it was, you rent it. You pay the full price for the tool. If you don't bring it back, you own it. If you take it back, you get your $40 back. I kept it. I thought it was such a helpful tool. I got to use it twice, and a guy I worked with used it, didn't clean it when he was done. Junk. I still have it, but it doesn't work. So it's headed for the scrap pile. So gravity bleeding, in my mind, in my humble opinion, works great. So gonna pause you again, finish this side up, and then I'll decide what the next phase of this project is. Be back. All right, just wanted to show you something here on this, on the right side, just to show you what I was talking about. You can see here, this is your mounting for your caliper. You got your two holes here for your caliper that goes in there. It's clearanced, so the rotor can come off and on without, this is all one piece with the spindle, so you don't need to do anything special to get your rotor off once you got the caliper off, which is kind of nice. I was a little confused at the beginning, but you can see also what I was talking about here with these dust shields. I know a lot of guys that run the Cherokees just lose them because they rot out, and apparently they're not readily available. So anyhow, that's where I am now on this side. It was only like 2 minutes to take that off. The original bolts, you can see somebody had never seize on them, or anti-seize, whatever you want to call it. These are 13s, the new ones are 12s. Not sure why. The bleeder's 3/8. This is a 95 Cherokee, so apparently there's a mishmash of metric and standard on here. And I know 13.5 inch are relatively the same as 14 and 9/16 are close-ish. But so, all right, back to work. Not done yet. A couple of things. So I don't have a lot of, automotive supplies, but I do have a can of white lithium grease. So I did the same thing on the other side, so the rotor doesn't stick to this, and so the lug nuts go on easily. And for the record, I also went over these. I didn't have, sorry, almost dropped you guys. That was close. You guys could have been seriously hurt. I didn't have enough brake clean to do both rotors, so I use this. That's probably coming out backwards, at least it looks backwards to me. But it's wax and grease remover. It will eventually evaporate, but I wiped it down, used quite a bit, and then dried it off with a clean rag. So the rotors are nice and clean, and they're ready to go on, so I better shut up and put them on. Okay, another pro tip when doing these, because the Cherokee doesn't have the captive bracket that holds the rotor in place, just put one of your lug nuts on, finger tight, and that keeps that nice and secure on there, so when you're putting the rotor on or the caliper on, you're not fighting that as well. So we're there. Oh, and the other thing, I did use the grease, Power Stop Wunder grease that comes with the kit, where it recommends you use it, which is where the brake shoes will be riding. So back to work. Okay, I got to make this quick. I just did the extended brake line transplant, and you can see right there coming out the bleeder, it's a nice steady stream. So it's been on there for long enough. Sorry about the altered view there. It's been on there long enough to get all the air out. So I already set my ratchet to tighten, and for the most part, that's bled. So one thing you want to do, make sure that you do when you're doing a brake job, is before you move the car, first thing you want to do is make sure all your fittings are tight. Second thing you want to do is make sure your master cylinder is full. And the third thing you want to do is start it up in gear, or not in gear, in park, or in my case neutral, or with the clutch in, and pump the brakes, because most of the time, like if you're just changing the pads or the shoes, you've got to compress the wheel cylinders or the calipers to get the thing back together easily. So you have that gap between either the shoes and the drum or the pads and the rotor. And I don't know how many times I've done this, but you get in a car after doing a brake job and go to back out and hit the brakes and nothing happens because the pedal goes to the floor. So make sure those things, that you do those things when you're done with any brake job, is make sure all your fittings and bleeders are tight. Make sure your master cylinder is topped off, and before you move the car, make sure you have a pedal, so pump that pedal up. All right. Yeah, and if it's down, here's another little interesting thing. Once you get the pedal pumped up, before you start driving it, double check and make sure your master cylinder is still full, because guaranteed it's going to take just a little bit more to top it off. So back to work. Okie dokie. It's all back together. Brakes are all bled out. Pedal is excellent. I just dropped it down so I could get inside. Got plenty of, I could go another 2-3 inches for lift on this if I wanted to, which I kind of do and kind of don't. I was thinking about putting like a 2-inch puck in here and a shackle in the back, a 1 or 2 inch drop shackle in the back, and then maybe I could run 33s on this. My big issue with, running the big tires on these is, let me show you. Let's go around to the back of the Jeep. Okay, so right now the rear flares are off, and this, by the way, is the only rust, and that's the same as it was since I got it. That's the only rust on the upper body. You can see new rockers, new floors in it, as I said. But what I want to do is I want to make flat flares for it, and I want to keep the weight down. See, I got the front flares on it, but I needed those for inspection because the tires stuck out a little bit. I also should put like 1/2 inch or 1 inch spacers in it, because I still do rub when I'm turning locked, all the way locked one way or the other. I'm not sure what it's rubbing on. Probably, I don't know, but I want to make, I have the new flares for the back, but what I did is I drilled all these out just a little bit so I could get a nutsert in there. That's what I did in the front, so I can show you that. Okay, so see, I got the nutserts in, and this is bolted on, so if I want to take it off, it's easy. I just unbolt it and it comes right off. At some point I have to get rid of that. That's a rivet. Gonna have to drill that out. But anyhow, I'm going to use the flare for a template, trace that on a piece of cardboard and transfer it to a piece of aluminum with the holes, and then get another piece of aluminum. And I don't want super wide. I may come out inch with the flat part, inch or 1.5 inches, and then use like a piece of 1-inch tube as a outer trim. But I don't like cutting the bodies. I got a great body here on the Jeep, not on me, and I don't want to cut it up. I mean, I know guys do it all the time, and I had somebody comment on a video a while back when I talked about making my own flat flares for this. They said, oh, it ain't a real Jeep till you hit it with a reciprocating saw and open up the wheel openings. It's like, maybe yours isn't, but mine is. So anyhow, gonna throw the wheel back on it, and then decide, I know I'm not going to do that intake today, but I may pop the rear glass out and do the tint. And as I said, I'm going to do the tint on the inside, even though it's going to be over top of the rear defroster and the connections for that. The reason I'm doing it on the inside, like I did the side glass on the inside, and that's because I had those stickers already on it, and I didn't want to, I just like it on the inside better because somebody's going to come along and they can't scratch it for me. So but the primary reason that I want to do it on the inside for the back is because if I do it on the outside, every time I turn my wiper on with all that dirt and nonsense on there, it's going to scratch it up, and next thing you know, I'll have this big scratch shape rainbow on my rear glass, which I don't want. So I'm putting it on the inside, which means I got to pull the, ooh, wow, it got dark, there we go. Which means I gotta pull the inner trim panel off, which is no big deal. I've had that off many times. So, all right, I may do that in a second video. I'm gonna end this one here. Gonna throw the wheel back on and call this project done. Like, subscribe, share, comment. If I still haven't gotten any feedback on the Off Topic Tuesdays, So, yeah, that's it for this one. God bless. Stay well. Take care.